Here are 7 reasons why I like the DJI Osmo Action 4 better than the GoPro Hero 12 Black. And up front, I will note that I paid for both of these cameras with my own money, and I have no affiliation with either of these companies. Reason number 1 I like the DJI Osmo Action 4 better than the GoPro Hero 12 Black is the rapid charge functionality on the Action 4. This rapid charge functionality allows you to charge the battery on the Action 4 from 0 to 80% in about 18 minutes. That's incredibly fast, and the GoPro does not have that option. With the GoPro battery, if you plug it in to charge it, it's going to take significantly longer to get from 0 to 80%. Reason number 2 I like the Osmo Action 4 better than the Hero 12 is the ability to set a shutter speed range on the Action 4. And what I mean by that is in video mode, if you go to the shutter speed option, you can set the shutter speed to either a static value or you can set it to a pre-configured range. Now, why does this matter, you might ask? This matters because Rocksteady, which is a form of electronic image stabilization, it needs a certain shutter speed in order to work properly. Rocksteady will not always work properly if that shutter speed gets down below about 1/200. If it gets slower than that, you're going to start to see some jitter and ghosting in the footage. So if you don't want to have to worry about that, you can simply set the shutter speed range from 1/200 to 1/8000. That way you can keep Rocksteady on all the time. Don't have to worry about that jitter and ghosting. On the Hero 12 Black, you can do something similar to this, but you do have to install the GoPro Labs firmware, and then you have to scan QR codes that either set the maximum shutter angle or set a predefined shutter range. And that can be a lot to keep track of, especially if you're switching back and forth between like 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, 60, 120. It can get confusing and become a hassle to have to keep scanning QR codes when you can simply just set a range on the Action 4 and be done. No special firmware needed. Speaking of simple and easy, reason number 3 I like the Osmo Action 4 better than the Hero 12 is the menu structure on the Action 4. The menu structure is very simple and intuitive on the Action 4. It's really easy to set up and change the settings that you want to. You don't feel overwhelmed with all the options. I used to like the GoPro menu structure more, but I feel like on the Hero 12, it's a bit of a step backwards. I feel like the menu's a little more confusing and complicated, whereas on the Osmo Action 4, it's really simple. The settings are there that you need to be there, and it's easy to toggle them and change them. Reason number 4 I like the Osmo Action 4 better than the GoPro Hero 12 is the sensor size. The sensor on the Osmo Action 4 is much larger than on the Osmo Action 3. We now have a 1 1/3 inch sensor on the Action 4. Theoretically, that larger sensor should translate to better low light footage, versus the Hero 12 has a 1/1/9 inch sensor, which is the same sensor size as the Hero 11. And of course, it is important to use the right settings to get the very best low light footage, regardless of what camera you're using. But one other thing that does help is the Action 4 does also have a 10 megapixel resolution, which means this results in a 2.4 micrometer equivalent pixel size, which is a much larger pixel size than on the GoPro Hero 12. And what pixel size helps with, it helps the footage look a lot better, especially in low lighting. It's going to look like there's a lot less noise and grain on the Osmo Action 4 in low lighting relative to the Hero 12. So that is one of the benefits of pixel size. Reason number 5 I like the Osmo Action 4 better than the GoPro Hero 12 is the video bitrate. DJI has boosted the bitrate, and it's now 130 megabits per second for video on the Action 4. The bitrate on the Hero 12 is 120 megabits per second. Now there is a caveat with that. If you run the GoPro Labs firmware on the Hero 12, you can manually set the bitrate all the way up to 200 megabits per second. So there is a way to put the bitrate higher, but if you want to work with the default built-in firmware on these cameras, the Osmo Action 4 is your winner. And the reason higher bitrate matters is theoretically, the video footage can have more detail present in it with that higher bitrate. Reason number 6 I like the Osmo Action 4 better than the Hero 12 is the ability to adjust the noise reduction setting. On the Osmo Action 4, you can set this from -2 all the way up to +2. -2 equates to no noise reduction, and +2 equates to the highest level of noise reduction. On the Hero 12, you cannot set noise reduction on the camera without installing the GoPro Labs firmware, and then you have to scan a QR code to adjust the noise reduction. It's not built into the camera. And finally, reason number 7 I like the Osmo Action 4 better than the Hero 12 is there is a front touchscreen on the Osmo Action 4. Now, in most situations, that's not going to particularly matter, but there are situations such as if you have the camera facing you and maybe it's mounted on a dash or something like that, and the back of the camera is up tight against a windshield, it can be very handy to have that front touchscreen so you can adjust your settings. There may be some other vlogging situations where you need to quickly change the settings with the front screen, and you don't want to have to turn it around to get to the back. Very useful for that as well. On the GoPro Hero 12, the front screen is not touchscreen. You can touch this all you want, and it's not going to change settings here. You have to still use the back screen. So that is an advantage of the Osmo Action 4, that you do have that front touchscreen available. So those are the 7 reasons why I like the Osmo Action 4 better than the GoPro Hero 12. I also made a video on 7 reasons why I like the GoPro Hero 12 better than the Osmo Action 4. If you want to check out that video, I've linked to it right here.